What's the dumbest thing a teacher ever ignored that almost killed someone? My son nearly bled out in school while they accused him of faking it. That morning, Eli woke up complaining of a mild nosebleed, but I didn't think it was anything serious. It was winter, so I assumed it was the dry air or he was just being nervous about the quiz he had that day, so I gave him tissues to help with the bleeding. But later that day, when I went to pick Eli from school, there was dried blood all over his shirt and hands, and he looked really pale and weak. I asked him what happened, and he said he bled all day. But the worst part was that nobody tried to help, not even his teacher. When he tried asking her if he could go home, she shouted at him to sit back down and stop being dramatic. I then rushed him to the school clinic, but the nurse there said it's probably anxiety, and that kids use nosebleeds to get out of tests. My mouth fell open in shock at what she said, but I didn't have the time to address it. I asked if anyone had taken his blood pressure, but no one had. Eli, on the other hand, was getting worse. His breathing became shallow, and he began to stagger. I drove him straight to the urgent care, but Eli kept going in and out of consciousness in the backseat. When we got there, the doctor took a look and ordered an emergency scan immediately, and the diagnosis was scary: a ruptured nasal artery, significant blood loss, and on the verge of hypovolemic shock. The doctor then turned and asked me why Eli wasn't checked sooner. That's when I told him that the school claimed he was faking it. He looked as shocked as I was when the nurse told me. Next minute, he called a nurse in and asked her to bring him a sheet. Then he wrote a letter stating delayed care nearly resulted in unconsciousness and possible hemorrhagic complications. I was so mad, so the next morning, I went straight to Eli's school and demanded a full investigation into how a 10-year-old boy could bleed through his shirt all day without a single adult calling home. But they wouldn't let me meet with the principal. Every time I tried, it was the same. They wouldn't let me in. So I contacted my lawyer and told him everything, and he said he'd handle it. But a week passed by, and I still heard nothing from Eli's school. Then one day I got an email from the school, but they weren't reaching out to apologize. They just wanted to know why my lawyer had sent them an official request for the surveillance footage. I was so pissed that all they cared about was covering themselves, not actually fixing anything. So I wrote back telling them it was because they let my 10-year-old son sit in class, bleeding through his shirt for 6 hours and no one cared to call home. To make matters worse, the substitute teacher marked him as present and normal the entire day, but the school still didn't do anything about it. I kept seeing that same sub-teacher every time I went to pick Eli up, and she never apologized, neither did the nurse. After a while, I got tired of trying to get the school to right their wrongs. I was even thinking of withdrawing Eli from that school to avoid something like that happening again. But 2 months later, I went to pick him up from school, and there was a new teacher in his class. I asked what had happened to the sub, and they told me she'd been permanently removed from the school. As I was about to leave, the principal caught up with me and apologized on behalf of the staff. She assured me that both the teacher and nurse were gone.